Thanks, Chair. I'd like to thank Deputy O'Leary for putting this private member motion down tonight. I think it was very timely and I think it was part of the pressure that we've seen in the response of the government in the last hour. But I just want to make a general point. A good quality free education should be a basic essential in a modern society. It is the norm in most advanced countries. However, free primary and secondary education in this country is a myth, as has been said, a theoretical concept which doesn't exist in reality. Adding to the stress of the current cost of living crisis for so many families is the concern of finding the money to cover the cost of sending their children back to school this September. The motion notes a survey by the League of Credit Unions which listed the average cost of sending a child to primary school at €1,186 and €1,491 for a secondary school child. Many parents are forced to take out loans to cover these costs, as you know, Minister. There is a simple reason why parents are faced with this problem. As with our public health service and other public services, our education system is grossly underfunded, and especially in primary schools. The capitation rate per pupil per day in a primary school is €1. It is just double that in a secondary school. In a primary school, this amounts to €183 per pupil per annum. The capitation grant was actually cut from 200 in the austerity programme of the Fine Gael Labour government to 270. The current grant per pupil, if we take a school with 100 pupils and 4 classrooms, amounts to €18,300 for a year. This is supposed to cover heating, lighting, cleaning, insurance and general upkeep. In theory, a proportion of the grant is supposed to be set aside for teaching materials such as books and primers. In fact, schools are relying on parents and local communities to the tune of €46 million a year, not for enhanced learning, but to cover the basics like heating and insurance. When you compare the funding of primary education here with other countries, we are placed in the bottom 50% of the OECD countries. Our primary education spend is 11% below the EU average. The capitation grant needs to be immediately restored to the 2010 rate as a start in a serious commitment to provide genuinely free education at primary and secondary school level. Before your announcement a couple of hours ago, Minister, the back to school and clothing footwear allowance was lower than it was in 2007. It did not cover the cost of books or other learning materials. Again, I support the call for its eligibility to be extended, as is called for in the motion, to extend up to 500,000 children to families that earn under €80,000. And I still call for that, and I think it's important that the demand is still there. But I truly welcome the €100 on the back-to-school allowance that you've announced this evening. But I think even that is going to be hard to meet the costs that families are going to be facing, but it is definitely welcome, and I'm sure families will welcome it. Well, on the subject, I want to refer to the issue of hot school meals. And I welcome the fact that you're extending that to the DESH schools, the 310 DESH schools with 60,000 pupils coming into the system. We are still way behind the norm that exists across the EU. With the launch of the pilot scheme for hot school meals in 2019, about 10% of children in primary schools availed of the service. It does not cater for secondary school pupils. We all remember the campaign by the football player Marcus Rashford for school meals for children during their school holidays, which forced Boris Johnson's government to concede. We have to ask, what would Marcus Rashford think of the situation here? We're so far behind, he wouldn't know where to start. There is a commitment by the Minister to extend the scheme, which you have done this evening, but I repeat, as I said at the very beginning, we need a good quality free education. It should be a basic essential in a modern society. Steps have been taken this evening to take the edge of the anxiety of parents and families, which is welcome, but there still needs to be a lot more to be done in relation to free education.